keepers of Asgard build towers of stone, but the dirt holds the claim of the marrow and bone. I feed the brood on the flesh of the dead. Soon the sky will be painted with a fog of red. Hear the pack align, hear the iron pine. The silver wheel will break, the mother's power wakes. Yarn with the ironwood and iron bar. Yarn with the witches on a shadow throne. Rise up the claws, swallow the sun. The doom of usurpers has just begun. Now, Skull hunts the daylight, Hati hunts the moon. The cage of their order will shatter out soon. I cradle the hunter, I harbor the jaws that answer to nothing but older laws. The winter is waking, the shadow line draws. No walls of the tyrants can hold back our claws. Yarn with the ironwood and iron bar. Yarn with the witches on her shadow throne. Rise up the claws, swallow the sun. Doom of usurpers has just begun. Now, Takala! Tear them asunder, tear them asunder, tear them asunder, tear them asunder, tear them asunder. Near Banbridge town in the county down, one morning in July, from a bohin green I was clearly seen as I went traipsing by. He stood quite still as if struck by a chill or a vision of ancient grace, and he gazed with a stare at my nut-brown hair till the blood rushed to his face. From Bantry Bay up to Derry Quay, and from Galway to Dublin town, no lad I have seen has a look so keen as I saw here in County Down. I gave no sign as he watched the line of my shadow as Mary Kay, and from Galway to Dublin town. Ne'er a lad I sought has a heart so caught by the star of the county down. Snow on the heather, smoke from the roofs. I stand on the ridgeline, breathing the proof. Sky like a pale bowl, frost in my hair, name on my tongue tip, thin in the air. I call across
Good and fair evening, my friends. Welcome back to another beautiful night here in the tavern. Already off the bat, Milo has bought around for the tavern for a happy Tuesday. I'll raise a glass to that. Sláinte, my friends. I also owe, well, maybe. Yes, hang on. I owe a toot on the raid horn to Michael and to Erin, so see if I can get this down without standing up. Aha, I did. Cover your ears, friends, and here we go. 3, 2, 1. That was not spectacular. Let's do another one. Here we go. 3, 2, 1. There we go, that was better. Welcome, 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 my friends. So very glad that you could join us. Thank you for the raids, thank you for the round. Appreciate you all. It is quite bustly in here this evening. 2 raids already. And let's see, who all do we have in for the night? We have Sortok, Milu, we have the old King Bear, we've got Erin, of course, we've got Tyson, we've got Bobby. We've got Neko. Hello, good to see you. Welcome in. I know you've been joining more often, but it's always nice for me to see new regulars coming in. I'm here. Hello, welcome in. Good to see you. And I think. Oh, I'm here coming in with Erin. Well, welcome in. I'm glad that you could join us. I don't know that we've met. All right, I think I got everyone from the Twitch portal, and then we've got Clifford over on the YouTube portal, and we've got Georgia and Douglas coming in over on the Facebook portal. Welcome in, my friends. So very glad that you could join me this beautiful evening. It cooled off a little bit today, so I had a bunch of work I had to get done that I haven't been able to do because it's been too hot. So today I was actually being productive while being late. Not my usual. Well, I guess I'm always being productive when I'm being late, but today was particularly productive because I actually got things finished. So I feel better about the things that were being done. But hello, my friends. Welcome in. Good to see you all. Yeah, I believe Erin and company were playing Pal World, which the lady is obsessed with. She loves it. It is quite the enjoyable venture, I believe. Oh, all right. I think I am all set up. Oh, we also finally got the proper. So we ordered a hard copy of the Dragon and the George. This isn't what we're reading tonight. But we ordered the hard copy of The Dragon and the George, and this is what they sent us. It's one of the mass market paperbacks that was printed, I think, in like 1995. I don't know exactly, but these, it's in very good condition for how old it is. It's like 20 years old, but it's in very good condition. But they finally reshipped us the hard copy. I forgot how small this book was. I read this book first when I was, I think, 14 years old, and I remember this book being so much bigger, but now that I think about it, I probably picked it up because it was going to be a light read. Because when I was a young man, I wanted to get through a lot of stories. I wanted to read through as many stories as I could, so I probably saw that this had dragon in the name. And I actually didn't read this one first, I actually read the sequel first, and then found out that this was the first book. So, but yeah, I love this old, you can see the very 1970s, ooh, disappearing over on TikTok, the very 1970s art on the cover is, I love it. Okay, so that's for TikTok, and then I'll hold it up closer for everybody else who's got a better view of it. But yeah, very, very like 1970s, 1980s cover art on it. I enjoy it quite a bit. But none of that bollocks tonight. We are reading Eragon, and my friends, we are creeping up on the end. We are right there at the apex of this story. Well, no, I guess at the... What is the end in way of apex? Is it the annex? Because you have... The apex is the middle. Gosh, I can't remember because they use it in racing. None of you care about this. I don't know why I'm going through all of that. Ingress and egress. Yes. So it's ingress, egress, and apex. I bought the audiobook because I couldn't wait to hear the story. It was great, but I will listen to you read it. I'm glad you enjoyed it. I've been nervous that this was not that I'm misremembering how good this was. I don't know. I might keep it, or maybe we'll give it away. If somebody wants to get a copy of The Dragon and the George, if enough folk like it, maybe we'll give it away when we get done reading it. I don't see why not. Generally, when we buy 2 copies, because I have 2 copies of The Dragon Knight as well. I have a paperback and a hard copy. The hard copy we found for I think it was $11 at a local bookstore, but the paperback the lady got me for a birthday some time ago. I remember my dad trying to get me into one of his books he reads, and I just didn't get into it. Yeah, I remember when I was young, my father really loved science fiction. My father was an electrical engineer, and he was very much into science fiction, so he had a lot of Isaac Asimov books, and books like Tales from Earthsea and so on. Yeah, I think apex, when you're talking about a curve, apex is the top of the curve. So yeah, it is the top. It's the height. It's the highest the thing is. When you're talking about a curved line, you have your ingress, which is where you start, and then you have your apex, which is the top, and then your egress, I believe, is the exit. I could be wrong. Opposite of apex is nadir or base. Interesting. I don't know that I've ever heard that. It's very interesting. I plan on buying the second audiobook when I want to drop another 22, but I just got the 4th book in another series and I want to listen to tomorrow. The lady also got, along with this, she got, gosh, what is it called? It's something of the gods. It's the Norse mythology inspired one. Cindy, hello, welcome in. Good to see you, everyone. Hello, hello, hello. Good to see everyone. But I remember when I was young, Clifford, I didn't care for my father's books either. And when I got into university, I loved Isaac Asimov. And I know a lot of folk probably wouldn't enjoy Isaac Asimov because the reading is very dry. It's like my father also loved Arthur Conan Doyle. I don't know many modern folk that particularly care to read like Agatha Christie and Arthur Conan Doyle because it is a very dry read. It's like if you ever go back and you read the original Frankenstein, the original Frankenstein is it is not a very rich read. Like it's old. Like it's one of the reasons a lot of people struggle with Lord of the Rings, because you have to remember the Lord of the Rings is written by a man who was born in the early 20th century, and it was written in like the 1930s and 40s. So it's very old. And these other books like Arthur Conan Doyle, a lot of stuff from that time, like Moby Dick, the Sherlock Holmes books, the Agatha Christie books, these were written in like, between the 17 and 1800s in most cases. So a lot of these books, the language is over 100 years old. And we do not speak the same English that we did 150 years ago. So it's like trying to have a conversation with somebody from 150 years ago. most of us, most folk today, could not have a conversation with somebody who was speaking Middle English or Old English, um, or even Victorian English, because it was very much different from how we speak today. It's always funny to me when they have people from the 16th and 17th century speaking like modern day colloquial English, because it's not really the same language. T-Dubs, hello, welcome in. So very good to see you. Welcome in, grab a seat. We're just getting ready to start our stories. Not a fan of Arthur Conan Doyle. I love Arthur Conan Doyle, but I will fully acknowledge that the Sherlock Holmes books are difficult to read. They're a little bit more enjoyable for most folk as an audiobook, but the writing it's too old and it is too complex. Like the combination of the complexity of Doyle's plots with the age of the language makes it very hard for the story to be followed. So it's not even something like I had a gentleman who I went to school with who looked down on people who didn't enjoy Shakespeare. He was very much like anybody who didn't enjoy Shakespeare was an idiot. He's just anybody who didn't like Shakespeare was a moron. And the reality is that that's not really true, because most people do not have a passing understanding of middle or Lord of the Rings 1892. That's funny, Phil. Arthur Conan Doyle was requiring Arthur Conan Doyle and Shakespeare were required readings in schools all the way up until, I think, like the 1990s. Yeah, we'll go ahead and let them run. Don't worry about snoozing, Frost. I appreciate you, brother. My friend Sailor is going through the Sherlock Holmes books. Kenneth Branagh helped me get through Shakespeare. Yeah, again, I've considered doing story times. What the hell? They got rid of my playlist, and I'm very upset about it. The background list that we were using, they got rid of it, and I'm not thrilled, because we pay quite a bit of money to use those, and I'm not happy about it. But yes, I remember what I was saying. This gentleman that I went to school with, he would look at anybody who didn't like or didn't understand Shakespeare as being idiots, and most people today could not have a conversation in Middle English or Old English. That's not because people are stupid, it's because we speak a different language. So you can't expect people to have an in-depth understanding or even a cursory understanding of English, because even though a lot of folk were forced to read Sherlock Holmes and Shakespeare at school, not everybody understood it. I can't tell you how many people come into tavern story times and tavern videos and say, that they wish I had been there to teach them history or something, because it would have been far more interesting. Like most schools, they'll have you read Shakespeare, and then they'll ask you what you think about Shakespeare, and then they'll give you a letter grade, A through F if you're in the United States, as to how well you understand Shakespeare, and it's a whole lot of bollocks. 1892 was when Tolkien was born. Yes. I was very confused. Agatha Christie, 1920. I thought, is Agatha Christie only the 1920s? I thought Agatha Christie was in the 1800s. I might be thinking about somebody else. I might be thinking about Mary Shelley. Because I think Mary Shelley's older than that, right? Mary Shelley was the 1800s. Yes, yeah, Mary Shelley was in 1818. I thought that Agatha Christie was older than that, but she was inspired by Conan Doyle, so I guess it makes sense that she would be later on. I remember watching the adaptation of Romeo and Juliet with Leonardo DiCaprio, and heard that the way they talked, and it felt off. Yeah, and that's gosh, it's one of those weird things where I was not forced to read those, fortunately. Yeah, and again, like some folk are forced to read them in school. If you go to school for like a literature degree, you're going to be forced to read them. Uh, Forced modern concepts on Old English was weird for. Yeah, it was. I did enjoy the Ethan Hawke adaptation of Romeo and Juliet. I thought that one was pretty good. As an adaptation, obviously not as a faithful representation. As an adaptation, it was pretty good. But yeah, if you don't enjoy Arthur Conan Doyle, or if you don't enjoy Moby Dick, or even if you don't enjoy Agatha Christie or Lord of the Rings, it's not necessarily because you're dumb. And and a lot of people, a lot of like snobs, will say that, but it's just a different language. It's yeah, what Bobby said, linguistic drift. I don't know necessarily that I would say it's a problem, but it is definitely something that makes it more difficult to understand older things. Audiobooks on cassettes helped so much. Grapes of Wrath was just not happening without it. Yeah, Grapes of Wrath. I mean, even stuff like Of Mice and Men, which is like an English like an English American novel, is difficult to read because it's written in sort of like an old Southern cadence, and that's difficult for a lot of people to read. I got the benefit of my teacher actually going through the plays and sonnets while they tore them apart to explain the way Old English was different. See, and that's nice. That's something that a teacher should do. But most modern teachers don't want to or don't have the capacity to do that in schools. So it's unfortunate. All right, we're gonna run ads over on Twitch, and then as soon as we're done, we're gonna hop into Eragon and get started with story time for the night, my friends. You'll be in ads for 3 minutes, but you'll be back, and we'll miss you while you're gone. T-Dubs, you said, what's your favorite literature piece of all time? It's probably a bit of a cop-out to say the works of Tolkien, but I think that the works of Tolkien are probably one of the most influential pieces of literature. If we put his collection together, the works of Tolkien are almost undoubtedly the most influential piece of literature in the last 100 years or so. Remember, Castle, I was born just shortly after these were written. That's true. I do forget that. You are a youthful figure in spirit. So I do forget. Oh, it's all dusty. I would say that probably if I had to say like what piece of literature had the greatest impact on me, it would be the works of Tolkien. Because again, it's one of almost everything you know today as fantasy was either inspired by or directly taken from Tolkien. Now I do have 2 other books that I would say are my favorite pieces of literature ever written. Because again, I feel like saying Lord of the Rings is a cop-out, because Lord of the Rings is very clearly and obviously one of the most influential, well-written, well-put-together pieces of literature in the last 150 years. So there's not really any doubt about that. Yeah, the Iliad and the Odyssey are spectacular. I don't enjoy the Greek classics as much as I do the more rustic folklores. So we're talking about folklore, like I very much prefer, and it might be a bias of bloodline, but I very much prefer the folklores of Ireland and Scandinavia and the mainland Celts. But obviously, I'm Irish and my family are from Ireland and Norway. So I don't enjoy like the structured drama of the Greeks as much as I do the more rustic folklores of Europe. But it's beyond a doubt that Homer's work is obviously it basically helped to shape the Western world. Like you cannot you cannot detract from the influence that the work of Homer had. So there's that. But if I had to be a little bit more specific to answer your question, there are two books that I will always tell everyone are some of the most influential and some of my favorite books for me personally. The first one is The Screwtape Letters by C.S. Lewis. Now, C.S. Lewis has a lot of books. He's got a lot of books that are written on theology. He's got a lot of books that are written as fantasy. This one was his least favorite book to write. He often spoke about how uncomfortable and terrible this book was for him to write, but I find that this is one of the most in-depth and spectacular pieces of philosophical literature that has ever been written. If you want to read something that examines the human condition in a completely unfiltered and insane way, The Screwtape Letters is that. A lot of people look at this as being a religious book because it's a conversation between a fallen angel and a demon. I don't see it that way, and you can definitely enjoy this without thinking about the religiosity behind it. If you are religious, then all the more it adds to it, but if you're not religious, it's equally enjoyable. But beyond this, probably my favorite book ever written is actually a children's book, and it is The Phantom Tollbooth. I think that if you are an adult, if you are a child, it doesn't matter where you are from, who you are, what age you are. You could be 5 years old, you could be 80 years old. This is one of the best books, if not the best book ever written. Though the skill that it took to write this, the in-depth nature of it, the philosophical nature of it, the examining of human nature, the plot, the characters, it is one of the best books ever written. I strongly recommend The Phantom Tollbooth. We usually do a reading of this once a year. That's how good it is. We do a reading of it for Storytime. It's a spectacular book. Good evening, Castle. C.S. Lewis is absolutely a great writer. Indeed he is, Esther. And hello, it's good to see you. Good night, Phil. Love you, brother. Rest well. This is kind of controversial, but one piece of literature that has impacted me was Harry Potter. It's what got me into reading the first book. I think that that's fair. I know a lot of people don't like J.K. Rowling for one reason or the other. I don't get into the political bollocks and stuff behind these things. It's hard to argue with the influence of Harry Potter because Harry Potter 100% got an entire generation of children who were hooked on television into reading. Harry Potter was a children's book that came out when children were becoming addicted to video games and television, and it got children reading again in a time when children really weren't reading all that much. Chronicles of Narnia, absolutely as well, Nico. I love Chronicles of Narnia. I'm getting more into fantasy and rustic stories. Lord of the Rings and The Hobbit got me into it. Yeah, absolutely. Lord of the Rings and The Hobbit are exceptional. Thank you so much for the recommendation. I'm definitely going to check these out. My father read me the Eragon books when I was a child, and I've been in love with him with fantasy since then. Yeah, I picked up... Eragon was one of the first books I chose for myself when I was a teenager, and I was absolutely blown away because when I read this book, I was about the same age as Christopher Paolini was when he wrote it. I think he and I are a few years apart in age. And I was blown away that someone my age could write this. And I've absolutely been in love with it ever since then. What? Bobby, were you asking me what Screwtape Letters is about? Or were you asking what something else is about? Council, there is a new movie adaptation development, but no brand new Narnia book. The upcoming film is an adaptation of C.S. Lewis's classic 1955 fantasy prequel, The Magician's Nephew, directed by Greta Gerwig for Netflix. Oh boy. Greta Gerwig directing a C.S. Lewis film, huh? Oh boy. uh, that what a bummer that is. Oh man, that you could not have brought worse news to me, Esther. I try to stay away from film and movie announcements because they just make me sad nowadays. Elizabeth, hello, welcome in. Thank you for that. Yeah. Oh my God. Oh, that is truly sad news. But yeah, so the novel Bobby by C.S. Lewis, this is it is literally a series of letters written by a fallen angel to a demon, and it is an examination of human nature. I actually strongly recommend. There is a brilliant audiobook version of this that's really cheap on Audible. I don't like recommending people buy from Audible, so if you can get it somewhere else, do. But Bobby, tag me in the guild later. I believe you're in the guild still. Yeah, you are. Tag me in the guild later, and I will link you the audiobook version of this that I like. That's on Audible, because the audiobook version of it is really good. So I do strongly recommend it. And I think most folk who, if you enjoy philosophy, or if you've ever read like The Art of War, this is a really good book. I love it. Mopley, if you love Chronicles of Narnia series, I am involved with the Academy of Arts Ministries that does amazing stage adaptations and books of the books, as Prince Caspian is currently on our tour United States of America with The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe. We'll be heading the Branson, what is MO? Is it Minnesota? MO? I'll assume that it is. For the holiday season. Well, that's exceptional. The Legend of Drizzt is one of my favorite books I've ever read. Yeah, the Drizzt novels by Salvatore have been on the list of recommendation for a long time. I'll drag my butt over. Okay. I don't have Audible. I prefer to touch the books before turning the page. I do too. I like audiobooks. I do like audiobooks as well. But I like to have physical books as well. The lady and I are lousy for it, because we'll buy audiobooks that we can listen to when we're driving or when we're working, and then we also have the physical books so that we can read them when we're going to bed. MO, that's Missouri, I think. That's what I thought. So Branson, Missouri for the holiday season. That's exceptional. I have not been to a stage play in ages. I used to go quite a bit when I was doing more media work, but now that I run the tavern full time, I don't get out of the tavern much. So, all right, I think it's time we get into stories. Yeah, well, and that's been the other issue with all of my head trauma. I'm having a harder and harder time reading, especially off of screens. Like I can't do digital books anymore. Like I can't do ebooks because I can't read off of a screen for that long. Thank you, Douglas. I appreciate you. Tyson! Hello, my friends. I did get my progressive, so it's easier now. Yeah, I have an old video that I put out of when I finally got my glasses. Because I've probably been blind since like 2017. I probably needed them since 2017, maybe even earlier than that. And it got to the point where I was getting such bad headaches that Una essentially told me, she's like, you have to go and get tested to see if you need glasses. And when I went and got an eye exam to see if I needed glasses, the doctor looked at me worried. She's like, did you drive yourself here? And indeed I had. So, yeah. So, it is an unfortunate aspect. And what makes it worse is that I'm already predisposed to astigmatisms because of my parents. But because I work on screens, that's probably what aggravated it more quickly. So now I have to wear my focals to be able to do things. I can do all right if something is close. Like if I hold the book about there, I can read. But anything farther away, like this is just a blob of text. I can't even tell who is talking. I can tell which one is Esther because Esther's name is ridiculously long. So I can see that Esther just said something, but I can't see what she said. And everything else is just blobs of white and purple and grey. So if I don't have these, I could read to you, but I couldn't speak to any of you. Oh gosh, that was awful. Well, I need glasses. Without them, I would run into doors and walls. Yeah. The other issue is that I am dangerously night blind. So if I ever drive at night, everything, even with my glasses on, everything kind of looks like it's the same distance away. So I can't really drive at night. If I'm looking at lights, so like I can see the different sizes of the lights, but they all look like they're on a flat plane in front of me. So I'm starting to have to take my glasses off to read and put them on to see beyond my foot. I'm not okay. We're all growing old. That's what it is. I am ridiculously complicated. I guess it's a badge of honor then. Okay, let's get into the story, guys. I don't want to make you wait too long for these. I also wear reading glasses. See, we're all old. We're all old. Just a tavern full of old folk. Do you have any recommendations about more magical fantasy themes? I love druids especially. It depends on what kind of books you like, T-dubs. The lady is presently reading these books on Sunday by Juliette Maurier. It's the Seven Waters series by Juliette Maurier. Oh, you can't even see that because you're on TikTok. Okay. So this is called Heir to Seven Waters. Put it next to my face. And it's by Juliette Maurier, and it's based loosely, and I want to emphasize loosely, around Irish and Druidic folklore and like old Irish folklore, and Irish history as well. Like there's some like Irish clan communication in there. You're only as old as you feel, and I ignore that too. Yeah, I'm falling apart over here, but I'm gonna pretend that I'm still in my 20s. Waffle, 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 pancake. Yeah. All right. Eragon of the Inheritance Cycle. It is you're as old as you feel, or is it who you're feeling? Yeah. Discord is a pain in the butt. Yes, it is. That's why we didn't want to use it. It's got more security than my bank account, which is hilarious because they're constantly being hacked and having data breaches. They have all of that security and it doesn't do a lick of good. They're constantly having data leaks. And they have a bunch of illicit servers that they don't take down too, which is why we don't like using them. I'm actually working on getting a different platform up and running. We'll see if that does anything. I've been up since 3 a.m. so I can't help myself, but being silly. That's perfectly acceptable, Esther. Perfectly acceptable. Alright. Mandrake Root and Newt's Tongue. The blankets were bunched underneath Eragon when he woke, but he was still warm. Saphira was asleep on her cushion, her breath coming in steady gusts. For the first time since Father Door, Eragon felt secure and hopeful. He was warm and fed and had been able to sleep as long as he liked. Tension unknotted inside of him. Tension that had been accumulating ever since Brom's death, and even before, since leaving the Palancar Valley. I don't have to be afraid anymore. But what about Murtaugh? No matter what the Varden's hospitality, Eragon could not accept it in good conscience, knowing that, intentionally or not, he had led Murtaugh to his imprisonment. Somehow, the situation had to be resolved. His gaze roamed the cave's rough ceiling as he thought of Arya. Chiding himself for daydreaming, he tilted his head and looked out at the dragon hold. A large cat sat on the edge of the cage, licking its paw. It glanced at him, and he saw a flash of slanted red eyes. Solenbum? He asked incredulously. Obviously, said the werecat. The werecat shook his rough mane and yawned languorously, displaying his long fangs. He stretched, then jumped out of the cave, landing with a solid thump on Isidar Mithrim 20 feet below. Come in. Eragon looked at Saphira, and she was awake now, watching him motionlessly. Go, I will be fine, she murmured. Solenbum was waiting for him under the arch that led to the rest of Trondheim. The moment Eragon's feet touched Isidar Mithrim, the werecat turned with a flick of his paws and disappeared through the arch. Eragon chased after him, rubbing the sleep from his face. He stepped through the archway and found himself standing atop the Volturin, the endless staircase. There was nowhere else to go, so he descended to the next level. He stood in an open arcade that curved gently to the left and encircled Trondheim's central chamber. Between the slender columns supporting the arches, Eragon could see the Isidar Mithrim sparkling brilliantly above him, as well as the city mountain's distant base. The circumference of the central chamber increased with each successive level, and the staircase cut through the arcade's floor to an identical level below, and descended through scores of arcades until it disappeared into the distance. The sliding trough ran along the outside curve of the stairs, and at the top of Volturin was a pile of leather squares to slide on. To Eragon's right, a dusty corridor led to the top level's rooms and apartments. Solenbum padded down the hall, flipping his tail. Wait, said Eragon. He tried to catch up with Solenbum, but glimpsed him only fleetingly in the abandoned passageways. Then, as Eragon rounded a corner, he saw the werecat stop before a door and yowl. Seemingly of its own accord, the door slid inward. Solenbum slipped inside, and then the door shut. Eragon halted in front of it, perplexed. He raised his hand to knock, but before he did, the door opened once more, and warm light spilled out. After a moment's indecision, he stepped inside. He entered an earthy two-room suite, lavishly decorated with carved wood and clinging plants. The air was warm, fresh, and humid. Bright lanterns hung on the walls, and from the low ceiling, piles of intriguing items cluttered the floor, obscuring the corners. A large four-poster bed, curtained by even more plants, was in the far room. In the center of the main room, on a plush leather chair, sat the fortune-teller and witch, Angela. She smiled brightly. What are you doing here? Blurted Eragon. Angela folded her hands on her lap. Well, why don't you sit on the floor and I'll tell you. I'd offer you a chair, but I'm sitting on the only one. Questions buzzed through Eragon's mind as he settled between the two flasks of acrid, bubbling green potions. So, exclaimed Angela, leaning forward, you are a rider. I suspected as much, but I didn't know for certain until yesterday. I was sure Solenbum knew, but he never told me. I certainly should have figured it out the moment you mentioned Brom. Saphira, I like the name, fitting for a dragon. Brom's dead, said Eragon abruptly. The Razak killed him. Angela was taken aback. She twirled a lock of her dense hair. I'm sorry. I truly am. she said softly. Eragon smiled bitterly. But not surprised, are you? You foretold his death, after all. I didn't know whose death it would be, she said, shaking her head. But no, not surprised. I met Brom once or twice. He didn't care for my frivolous attitude towards magic. It irritated him. Eragon frowned. In Teum, you laughed at his fate and said it was something of a joke. Why? Angela's face tightened momentarily. Well, in retrospect, it was in rather bad taste, but I didn't know what would befall him. How do I put this? Brom was cursed in a way. It was his word to fail at all of his tasks except for one, although through no fault of his own. He was chosen as a rider, but his dragon was killed. He loved a woman, but it was his affection that was her undoing. And he was chosen, I assume, to guard and train you, but in the end he failed at that as well. The only thing he succeeded in was killing Morzan, and a better deed he couldn't have done. Brom never mentioned a woman to me, retorted Eragon. Angela shrugged carelessly. I heard it from one who couldn't have lied. But enough of this talk. Life goes on. We should not trouble the dead with our worries. She scooped a pile of reeds from the floor and deftly started plaiting them together, closing the subject for discussion. Eragon hesitated, then gave in. All right, so why are you in Trondheim instead of Teum? Ah, at last an interesting question, said Angela. After hearing Brom's name again during your visit, I sensed a return of the past in Allegasia. People were whispering that the Empire was hunting a rider. I knew then that the Varden's dragon egg must have hatched, so I closed my shop and set out to learn more. You knew about the egg? Of course I did. I'm not an idiot. I've been around much longer than you would believe. Very little happens that I don't know about. She paused and concentrated on her weaving. Anyway, I knew I had to get to the Varden as fast as possible. I've been here nearly a month now, though I really don't care for this place. It's far too musty for my taste. And everyone in the farthing door is so serious and noble. They're probably all doomed to tragic deaths anyway. She gave a long sigh and a mocking expression on her face. And the dwarves are just a superstitious bunch of ninnies, content to hammer all the rocks all their lives. The only redeeming aspect of this place is all the mushrooms and fungi that grow inside Farthindor. Then why stay? Said Eragon, smiling. Because I like to be wherever important events are occurring, said Angela, cocking her head. Besides, if I had stayed in Teum, Solomon would have left without me, and I enjoy his company. But tell me, what adventures have befallen you since last we talked? For the next hour, Eragon summarized his experience of the last 2.5 months. Angela listened quietly, but when he mentioned Murtaugh's name, she sputtered. Murtaugh! Eragon nodded. He told me who he is, but let me finish my story before you make any judgments. He continued with his tale, and when it was complete, Angela leaned back in her chair thoughtfully, her reeds forgotten. Without warning, Solomon jumped out of a hiding place and landed on her lap. He curled up, eyeing Eragon haughtily. Angela petted the werecat. Fascinating. Velbatorix allied with the Urgles, and Murtaugh finally out in the open. I warned you to be careful of Murtaugh, but you're obviously aware of the danger. Murtaugh has been a steadfast friend, and an unwavering ally, said Eragon firmly. All the same, be careful. Angela paused, then said distastefully. And then there's the matter of this shade, Durza. I think he's the greatest threat to the Varden right now. Aside from Galbatorix, I loathe shades. They practice the most unholy magic. After necromancy, I'd like to dig out his heart with a dull hairpin and feed it to a pig. Eragon was startled by her sudden vehemence. I don't understand. Brom told me that shades are sorcerers who use spirits to accomplish their will, but why does that make them so evil? Angela shook her head. It doesn't. Ordinary sorcerers are just that, ordinary. Neither better nor worse than the rest of us. But they use their magical strengths to control spirits and the spirits' powers. Shades, however, relinquish that control in their search for greater power and allow their bodies to be controlled by spirits. Unfortunately, only the evilest spirits seek to possess humans, and once ensconced, they never leave. Such possession can happen by accident if a sorcerer summons a spirit stronger than himself. The problem is, once a shade is created, it's terribly difficult to kill. As I'm sure you know, only 2 people, Letiri the elf and Ernstad the rider, have ever survived that feat. I've heard the stories. Eragon gestured at the room. Why are you living so high up in Trondheim? Isn't it inconvenient to be this isolated? And how did you get all this stuff up here? Angela threw back her head and laughed wryly. Truthfully, I'm in hiding. When I first came to Trondheim, I had a few days of peace, until one of the guards who let me into Father Door blabbed about who I was. Then all the magic users here, though they are barely rate the term, pestered me to join their secret group. Especially those droll twins who control it. Finally, I threatened to turn the lot of them into frogs. But when that didn't deter them, I sneaked up here in the middle of the night. It was less work than you might imagine, especially for one with my skills. Did you have to let the twins into your mind before you were allowed into Father Door? Asked Eragon. I was forced to let them sift through my memories. A cold gleam leapt into Angela's eye. The twins wouldn't dare probe me, for fear of what I might do to them. Oh, they'd love to, but they know the effort would leave them broken and gibbering nonsense. I've been coming here long before the Varden began examining people's minds, and they're not about to start on me now. She peered into the other room and said, Well, this has been an enlightening talk, but I'm afraid you have to go now. My brew of mandrake root and newt's tongue is about to boil, and it needs attending. Do come back again when you have the time, and please don't tell anyone I'm up here. I'd hate to have to move again. It would make me very irritated, and you don't want to see me irritated. I'll keep your secret, assured Eragon, getting up. Solumbum jumped off of Angela's lap as she stood. Good, she exclaimed. Eragon said farewell and left the room. Solumbum guided him back to the dragon hold, then dismissed him with a twitch of his tail before sauntering away. And so ends the chapter of Mandrake Root and Newt's Tongue. Gary, hey, sorry to be late. Oh, don't worry at all. I'm sorry you had to miss some story, but I'm glad you could make it in. Space Doc, finally catch alive. Well, we're glad to have you. Que pasa, amigos, says Baron Samedi. Welcome in, so very glad you could join us. Hello, hello. I'd love to get to the depths of Angela's character. Does she come back? Does she enter into the story again in the later books? I suppose we'd have to ask somebody who's read. I don't know who all has read the books. Bear, how far in are you in the story? Oh, and you know what, Bobby? I completely forgot. Thank you for your Prime sub there. Enjoy your mead of the Morning Star. Yes, she does. Okay. So, do we get more in depth into who she is and where she's from in later installments, or does she stay mysterious through everything? Because I'll be perfectly honest. If if Polini has the gall to keep her mysterious, I respect that level of restraint in a writer. I've read the first two, but I remember now. Yes, you do get to know her more, and there are lots of twists. Ah, interesting. I have them on my bookshelf. I think I only have Eragon and Murtaugh still on me. A lot of my books got stolen a long time ago. I think she pops up from time to time. It's not a complete look, but you do get to see her more. Okay, interesting. T-Dub says, that was truly amazing storytelling. It brought me back to being a child. I'm glad, Dubs. I'm glad you enjoyed. I've read them all, but not for a while. I don't remember. Okay, so I guess we'll have to discover that as we go along. Frost, thank you for the drink, brother. I appreciate you for that. Slancher. Okay. Let's see. The next chapter is... Oh, is it really that long? No way. Okay, I was going to say, that's ridiculously long for Polini. I skipped over the end of the chapter. Okay, so the next chapter... Well, it's still quite long. The next chapter is 12 pages. Yeah, we can do another chapter. Why not? I've read a few of the books, but I don't remember them well. Okay, let's see how much longer we have until Twitch is going to make us run. I'm here for the long haul. Alright, Bobby. You got it. Alright, yeah, we got 30 minutes. We got 30 minutes. Not compared to Feist. No. Feist chapters are insanely long. Absolutely ridiculously long chapters on that lad. Alright, we'll go on to the next chapter, then we will go in immediately. I'm going to raise a tiny sip to the tavern as well. Slancher, my friends. Alright. Getting right back into it with the next chapter. Hall of the Mountain King. So we're going to get to meet the King of the Dwarves. I'm making it a point to be here as often as possible. I love this. Well, I appreciate you. If we open the portals on multiple platforms, so whatever your preferred viewing platform is, TikTok is very bad about informing people when we're doing story times. We do it every Tuesday and Thursday for me, and then my wife reads on Sundays. But you can come in through any portal. That's Facebook, Twitch, YouTube, and Kick. So whatever your preferred method of entering the tavern is, all those portals stay open throughout the whole of Storytime. Songbird, hello, thank you for the heart. Me, you're just in time for the next chapter. Tips to the tavern keeper are always appreciated. We can do it, yes we can, Clifford, yes we can. Alright, let's go. Hall of the Mountain King. A dwarf was waiting for Eragon in the Dragon Hold. After bowing low and muttering, "I'll get them," the dwarf said with a thick accent, "Good, you're awake. Nerd Oric waits for you." He bowed again and scurried away. Saphira jumped out of a cave, landing next to Eragon, Zarok in her claws. "What was that for?" she asked, frowning. He asked, frowning. "Oh, what was that for?" he asked, frowning. She tilted her head. "Wear it. You are a rider, and you should bear a rider's sword. Zarok may have a bloody history, but that should not shape your actions. Forge a new history for it, and carry it with pride." "Are you sure?" remember our jihad's counsel. Saphira snorted, and a puff of smoke rose from her nostrils.
Wear it, Eragon. If you wish to remain above the forces here, do not let anyone's disapproval dictate your actions.
As you wish, he said reluctantly, buckling on the sword. He clambered onto her back, and Saphira flew out of Trondheim. There was enough light in Farthendor now that the hazy mass of the crater walls 5 miles away in each direction was visible. While they spiraled down to the city's mountain's base, Eragon told Saphira about his meeting with Angela. As soon as they landed by one of Trondheim's gates, Auric ran to Saphira's side.
My king, Hrothgar, wishes to see you both. Let's mount quickly. We must hurry.
Eragon trotted after the dwarf into Trondheim. Saphira easily kept pace beside them, ignoring the stares from people within the soaring corridor. Eragon asked,
Where will we meet Hrothgar?
Without slowing, Auric said,
In the throne room, beneath the city. It will be a private audience as an act of oath of faith. You do not have to address him in any special manner, but speak to him respectfully. Hrothgar is quick to anger, but he is wise and sees keenly into the minds of men. So think carefully before you speak.
Once they entered Trondheim's central chamber, Auric led the way to one of the 2 descending stairways that flanked the opposite hall. They started down the right-hand staircase, which gently curved inward until it faced the direction they had come from. The other stairway merged into theirs to form a broad cascade of dimly lit steps that ended after 100 feet, before 2 granite doors. A 7-pointed crown was carved into both doors. 7 dwarves stood guard on each side of the portal. They held burnished mattocks and wore gem-encrusted belts. As Eragon, Auric, and Saphira approached, the dwarves pounded the floor with the mattock's hafts. A deep boom rolled back up the stairs. The doors swung inward. A dark hall lay before them. A good bowshot low. The throne room was a natural cave. The walls were lined with stalagmites and stalactites, each thicker than a man's arm. Sparsely hung lanterns cast a moody light. The brown floor was smooth and polished, and at the far end of the hall was a black throne with a motionless figure upon it. Auric bowed.
The king awaits you.
Eragon put his hand on Saphira's side, and the 2 of them continued forward. The doors closed behind them, leaving them alone in the dim throne room with the king. Their footsteps echoed through the hall as they advanced towards the throne. In the recess between the stalagmites and the stalactites rested large statues. Each sculpture depicted a dwarf king, crowned and sitting on a throne. Their sightless eyes gazed sternly into the distance, and their lined faces set in fierce expressions. A name was chiseled in runes beneath each set of feet. Eragon and Saphira strode solemnly between the 2 rows of long-dead monarchs. They passed more than 40 statues, and then only dark and empty alcoves awaiting future kings. They stopped before Hrothgar at the end of the hall. The dwarf king himself sat like a statue upon the raised throne, carved from a single piece of black marble. It was blocky, unadorned, and cut with unyielding precision. Strength emanated from the throne. Strength that harked back to ancient times when the Dors had ruled in Allegasia without opposition from elves or humans. A gold helm lined with rubies and diamonds rested on Hrothgar's head in place of a crown. His visage was grim, weathered, and hewn of many years' experience. Beneath the craggy brow glinted deep-set eyes, flinty and piercing. Over his powerful chest rippled a shirt of mail. His white beard was tucked under his belt, and in his lap he held a mighty warhammer, with the symbol of Oryx clan embossed on its head. Eragon bowed awkwardly and knelt. Saphira remained upright. The king stirred as if awakening from a long sleep, and rumbled.
Rise, rider. You need not pay me tribute.
Straightening, Eragon met Hrothgar's impenetrable gaze. The king inspected him with hard eyes, then said guttily,
As Nur, Tem Lano, beware the rocks change. An old dictum of ours. Nowadays, the rocks change very fast indeed.
He fingered the warhammer.
I could not meet you with you earlier, as the Ajihad did, because I was forced to deal with my enemies within the clan. They demanded that I deny you sanctuary and expel you from Farthendor. It has taken much work on my part to convince them otherwise.
Thank you, said Eragon. I didn't anticipate how much strife my arrival would cause. The king accepted his thanks and then lifted a gnarled hand and pointed.
See that, rider, where my predecessors sit upon their graven thrones. 1 in 40 there are, and I the 42nd. When I pass from this world into the care of the gods, my Harna will be added to their ranks. The first statue is the likeness of my ancestor Korgon, who forged this mace, Volan. For 8 millennia, since the dawn of our race, dwarves have ruled under Farthendor, where we are the bones of the land, older than both fair elves and savage dragons.
Saphira shifted slightly. Hrothgar leaned forward, his voice gravelly and deep.
I am old, human, even by our reckonings. Old enough to have seen the riders in all their fleeting glory. Old enough to have spoken with their last leader, Vrael, who paid tribute to me within these very walls. Few are still alive who can claim that much. I remember the riders and how they meddled in our affairs. I also remember the peace they kept that made it possible to walk unharmed from Trondheim to Narda. And now you stand before me, a lost tradition revived. Tell me, speak truly in this. Why have you come to Farthendor? I know that events made you flee the Empire, but what's your intent now?
For now, Saphira and I merely want to recuperate in Trondheim, Eragon replied. We are not here to cause trouble, only to find sanctuary from the dangers we've faced for many months. Ajihad may send us to the elves, but until he does, we have no wish to leave.
Then was it only desire for safety that drove you?
Asked Hrothgar.
Do you just seek to live here and forget your troubles with the Empire?
Eragon shook his head, his pride rejecting that statement. Songbird, thank you for the Go Popular and the tavern gifts and the roses and the shard of hope and the donut. Thank you kindly. Tips to the tavern keeper are always appreciated. Speaking of dragons, that I am roughly 60% into the Scar Within ebook by Ange T. Dalton. It's a fantastic book and I can't wait to read the other two in the Twisted Thorns. I've not even heard of that one. But folk in the tavern do love a good dragon book. Obsidian Reeds, long time no see. Hello, hello. Thank you for cashing in a tiny sip. I will raise to you a tiny sip, my friend. Sláinte. I don't think I've seen you live in ages, Obsidian. It's been quite some time. I'm glad to see that you are still alive. Yeah, retired. Oh, interesting. Well, I hope your retirement is going well. You seem quite young to retire, but I won't judge. I will wish you well in your streamer retirement. It is a bastard of a thing to stream all the time. It's a difficult ecosystem to be in, and it's not a terribly endearing thing to do. Graduate feels incorrect. Yeah. No, it is a difficult thing to do. Being a creator in general is just a difficult job, not in the sense that it's hard. There are difficulties about it, especially if you want to do it professionally and well, but really it's just a very isolating thing, because most people who do what we do are kind of snakes. So it's difficult to be in it and be around it all the time and deal with the constantly changing and shifting platforms. It's just a load of bollocks. Does Godzilla technically count as a dragon? I will say that under the medieval sense of dragon, yes. Under the modern sense of dragon, no. Because in the medieval sense, he would be considered somewhat of a dragon. In the modern sense, he would definitely fall under the Japanese moniker of kaiju, I think. But Obsidian, it's wonderful to see you. I'm glad that you could drop in. Thank you for the tiny sip. Susan, thank you for the heart me over on the TikTok portal. Tips to the Tavern Keeper, always appreciated. Very true, yes. Okay, I'll lurk around a bit. Happy to listen to stories tonight. Very happy indeed. My laptop keeps freezing. I'm going to have to restart. Be back as soon as I can. All right, Bear. We'll see you in a bit. I'll read slowly. Yes, I hope that you have been living your best froggy existence since last we spoke. And I'll get back into story time now, so you can enjoy yourself while you're here. All right, where was I? Eragon shook his head, his pride rejecting that statement. If Arjihad told you my past, you should know that I have grievances enough to fight the Empire until it's nothing but scattered ashes. More than that, though, I want to aid those who cannot escape Galbatorix, including my cousin. I have the strength to help, so I must. The king seemed satisfied by his answer. He turned to Saphira and asked, Dragon, what think you of this matter? For what reason have you come? Saphira lifted the edge of her lip to growl.
Tell him that I thirst for the blood of our enemies, and eagerly await the day we ride to battle against Galbatorix. I've no love or mercy for traitors and egg-breakers like that false king. He held me for over a century, and even now still has 2 of my brethren, whom I would free if possible. And tell Hrothgar, I think you are ready for this task.
Eragon grimaced at her words, but dutifully relayed them. The corner of Hrothgar's mouth lifted in a hint of a grim amusement, deepening his wrinkles. I see that dragons have not changed with the centuries. He rapped the throne with a knuckle. Do you know why this seat was quarried so flat and angular? So that no one would sit comfortably on it. I have not, I will not relinquish it, without regret, when my time comes. What is there to remind you of your obligations, Eragon? If the Empire falls, will you take Galbatorix's place and claim his kingship?
I don't seek to wear the crown or rule, said Eragon, troubled. Being a rider is enough responsibility. No, I would not take the throne of Urubane. Not unless there was no one else willing or competent enough to take it.
Hrothgar warned gravely.
Certainly, you would be a kinder king than Galbatorix. But no race should have a leader who does not age or leave the throne. The time of the riders has passed, Eragon. They will never arise again, not even if Galbatorix's other eggs were to hatch.
A shadow crossed his face as he gazed at Eragon's side.
I see that you carry an enemy sword. I was told this, that you travel with the son of the Forsworn. It does not please me to see this weapon.
He extended his hand.
I would like to examine it.
Eragon drew Zorok and presented it to the king, hilt first. Hrothgar grasped the sword and ran a practice eye over the red blade. The edge caught the lantern light, reflecting it sharply. The Dwarf King tested the point with his palm and then said,
A masterfully forged blade. Elves rarely make swords. They prefer bows and spears. But when they do, the results are unmatched. This is an ill-fated blade. I'm not glad to see it within my realm. But carry it if you will. Perhaps its luck has changed.
He returned Zorok to Eragon and he sheathed it.
Has my nephew proved helpful during your time here?
Who? Hrothgar raised a tangled eyebrow.
Ulrich, my youngest sister's son. He's been serving under Ajihat to show my support for the Varin. It seems that he's been returned to my command. However, I was gratified to hear that you defended him with your words.
Eragon understood that this was another sign of Otho, of faith, on Hrothgar's part. I couldn't ask for a better guide.
That's good,
said the king, clearly pleased.
Unfortunately, I cannot speak with you much longer. My advisors wait for me, as there are matters I must deal with. I will say this though. If you wish the support of dwarves within my realm, you must first prove yourself to them. With long memories, and do not rush to hasty decisions. Words will decide nothing, only deeds.
I will keep that in mind, said Eragon, bowing again. Hrothgar nodded regally.
You may go then.
Eragon turned with Saphira, and they proceeded out of the hall of the Mountain King. Ulrich was waiting for them on the other side of the stone doors, an anxious expression on his face. He fell in with him as they climbed back to Trondheim's main chamber.
Did it go well? Were you received favourably?
I think so, but your king is cautious, said Eragon.
That's how he survived for so long.
I would not want Hrothgar angry at us, observed Saphira. Eragon glanced at her. No, I wouldn't either. I'm not sure what he thought of you, but he seems to disapprove of dragons, though he didn't say it outright. That seemed to amuse Saphira. In that he is wise, especially since he is barely knee-high to me. In Trondheim's centre, under the sparkling Isidar Mithrim, Ulrich said,
Your blessing yesterday has stirred up the Varin like an overturned beehive. The child Saphira touched has been hailed as a future hero. She and her guardian have been quartered in the finest rooms. Everyone is talking about your miracle. All human mothers seem intent on finding you and getting the same for their children.
Alarmed, Eragon furtively looked around. What should we do?
Aside from taking back your actions, said Ulrich dryly. Stay out of sight as much as possible. Everyone will be kept out of the dragon hold, so you won't be disturbed there.
Okay, we've got ads popping up, so we're going to pause there for a second. I think we've still got several pages left in the chapter. Yeah, we've still got like 8 pages left in the chapter, so we're going to pause there for a second, so we can run ads for our Twitch friends, and then we will be right back. Well, since the father much, I know that Martok probably didn't spell his name right. Can be an ass at times, but give him a chance. Murtaugh. So Murtaugh, Murtaghh. So spelled very, very Gaelga, very Irish, very Celtic, if you will. Who was the son of Morzan. I wish that we could just skip them infinitely, Frost. I was so mad when they instituted mandatory ads, because even if I shut them off, even if I shut off all monetization on Twitch, and I don't allow subs, I don't allow bits, I don't allow any of that. Even if I shut it all off, it will still run ads. And sometimes it'll get people trapped in pre-roll ads, which can be up to 30 minutes long, unskippable ads. It is absolutely a dreadful system that they have. If I could turn off the ads on Twitch, I would. We make almost nothing from them. If we have a large audience in here, like the most we've ever made was during the readathon, when we were having like 25, 30 people in here at a time. During the readathon, we read for what, 2 weeks? A week and a half, something like that. We ran, I think, we probably ran 40 ad breaks during the readathon. Off of those 40 ads to upwards of 20 to 30 people, we made a whopping $7 off of that week. Castle, are you under an air quality advisory? I don't believe so. But the air down here in Los Angeles is always dreadful. Oops. Okay, what you need to do is get one of those silly looking glasses with a mustache and put them on. We are here due to the fires and smoke still. Yeah, the bear is back. You didn't miss all that much either. How many chapters are you reading tonight? Well, usually I try to read for about... I try to be on for 2.5 to 3 hours, depending on how much time I have. Tonight we'll probably pop off at... We'll probably stop at 2.5 hours tonight, because I still have to get some things done before bed. So we'll be on for another hour, so there's probably 2 more chapters. 1 to 2 more chapters, depending on how long they are. Dang, there's a lot of it. Yeah, we ran over a course of 8-9 days. We ran probably 40 or 50 ad breaks, because they make us do them every hour, 3 minutes every hour. And in that, we made $7. It was dreadful. Guys, give me just a second. The lady needs something from me. I need to figure out what it is. And I'll be right back. Okay, well, tell you what. Stick around to the end of the next chapter, T-dubs. And then if you want to watch the rest, if you want to get the rest of the story, which will probably be like 30 minutes worth of reading, you can head over to YouTube, and the reading will be up with the episode number over there for as long as you like. So stick around until the end of this chapter, and then you can fast forward to that and be able to finish listening to the story. But give me just a second, guys. I'll be right back. sat back in the chair and got into the different work mode. I forgot what I was doing. All right. I think I found my favorite content creator. You flatter me, my friend. I appreciate you for that. I hope that you enjoy all of the things we do in the tavern. Dex Labs, hello, my friend. Good to see you. I saw that you voted on the most recent head-to-head for the Stories World Cup. I was surprised, because normally folk who watch live story times, I don't see them in all of the videos. It's like very rare. Like most of the folk who I see cross over between the live story times and the recorded story times or what was I thinking? Most of them are like regulars. Like a lot of them are even barkeeps, so they help to keep everybody, you know, together and safe and whatnot. YouTube Premium again. Oh, Bobby, just leave a comment. You leave a comment of whoever you want to win underneath the video. That's it. And then I go through and I count them individually to see who won. And honestly, right now, it's looking like it's going to be Ireland v Scotland, which is wild. It's going to be Team Ireland versus Team Scotland in the Stories World Cup. I swear I did not do this on purpose, but it's going to end up being Scach versus Cocolin in the grand finale of the Stories World Cup in the tavern. It's which is wild. Cocolin versus the woman who trained him and made his spear. Now, the reason why it's crazy is because she is definitely a titan, but Cocolin's already beat her. Cocolin already took her down. So, obviously it's not going to be the two of them against each other in the final round. It's going to be something different. But it's just wild that it's, you know, that's what it is going in. I can't say that I'm terribly surprised, but there were a couple dark horses that I thought were really gonna do. Like, I thought the Kraken from Norway was gonna win. And then I also thought that Finland had a really good chance, because we have a massive Finnish audience over on YouTube. It is a lot of counting. It is a lot of work. Every episode has taken up about 3 hours of my day, which is why we didn't do more. We were gonna do a whole nother bracket, but then when it took me, I didn't expect as many people to vote as they did. Like, the first couple episodes got well over 200 votes each, and I was not prepared for that. And then I thought the Kraken had a great chance, but it got knocked out. Yeah, because we're planning, we might do a Stories Olympics in the winter. So if we do Stories Olympics in the winter, we might figure it out. Gary, there's still time to vote on the last round of the semi-finals, and then we're going to go into the finals, which will be, it's looking like it's going to be Scotland versus Ireland. We need to figure out how to automate you. If they ever do, I mean, at this point, they could just, Facebook and all of them, they have the right to my visage, so they could just make an AI version of me, and then I'll be out of a job. But yeah, the first episode of the semi-finals had almost 500 votes, I think. I think it actually had over 500 votes. So that took me a long, because I count them individually, so it took a long time. There's over 500 comments to go through. But alright, let's continue, friends. Where was I? Oh, we were over here. Eragon did not want to return to the Dragonhold yet. It was early in the day and he wanted to explore Trondheim with Saphira. Now that they were out of the Empire, there was no reason for them to be apart. But he wanted to avoid a tension which would be impossible with her at his side. Saphira, what do you want to do? She nosed him, scales brushing his arm.
I'll return to the Dragonhold. There's someone there I want to meet. Wander around as long as you like.
All right, he said, but who do you want to meet? Saphira only winked a large eye at him before padding down one of Trondheim's 4 main tunnels. Eragon explained to Auric that where she was going and then said, I'd like some breakfast, and then I'd like to see more of Trondheim. It's such an incredible place. I don't want to go to the training grounds until tomorrow, as I've not fully recovered. Auric nodded, his beard bobbing on his chest. In that case, would you like to visit Trondheim's library? It's quite old and contains many scrolls of great value. You might find it interesting to read the history of Allegasia, as been tainted by Galbatorix's hand. With a pang, Eragon remembered how Brom had taught him to read. He wondered if he still had the skill. A long time had passed since he'd seen written words. Yes, let's do that. Very well. After they ate, Auric guided Eragon through the myriad of corridors to their destination. When they reached the library's carved arch, Eragon stepped through it reverently. I don't know this story, but I'm intrigued. 500 individual votes, I'd be crazy. It's one of the reasons I'm always behind, is because you guys love the stories that we tell, and I love that. But on average, in a month, we get between 2,000 and 5,000 comments and messages. And that's on like an average month. And I try to respond to everybody individually, but it's just not something that I don't have the capacity to do. So I try, but there's just not enough time in the day or week. If I spent all the time responding to comments and messages, I would not have time to make more stories. No AI. I mean, again, they legally could do it if they wanted to, but I would prefer... Obviously, I'd prefer to keep my job. I thought Anansi was going to win his round. I thought there was a very good chance he would too. I was surprised at how... it shocked me. It shocked me. Use the emotes to use a voting tool is my recommendation if strictly using Facebook. Or channel emotes in Twitch. So when we do Twisted Fates, which hopefully will be coming up soon, I'm going to be a little bit more deliberate with how we do the voting. When we get to Twisted Fates, I'm going to make it so that it's a little bit simpler, and we're going to have the final vote tallies be with like channel members and like Patreon supporters and whatnot. People who are on what we'll call like the council will do the final votes during a live story time. So it's a little bit easier for me to count through. Because yeah, if the Twisted Fate stories are anywhere near as popular as these, it's gonna be rough to keep up with, because people are gonna be voting on which way the characters go. See, if we were only doing it on like one platform, it would be a lot easier, because then I could just run a poll. Like I could just put a poll in the comments on Instagram or on TikTok. But every platform has different like rules and different setups. So the easiest thing to do is just do the comments. If it's on YouTube, I can run it through like one of the things that lets me like search the comments, and I can say how many comments have this phrase and how many comments have this phrase, or how many have this emote, how many have that emote. And it's a little bit easier that way. But yeah, it's suffering from success. It's not a thing to complain about. I'm happy people are enjoying it, and I'm happy so many people want to be involved. So I don't want to sound like I'm complaining. I'm thrilled people enjoyed the story times. It is a lot of work, but I'm happy that people had fun and that they were invested in it. All right, let's continue. The room reminded him of a forest. Rows of graceful colonnades branched up into the dark, ribbed ceiling 5 stories above. Between the pillars, black marble bookcases stood back to back. Racks of scrolls covered the walls, interspersed with narrow walkways that reached by 3 twisting staircases. Placed at regular intervals around the walls were pairs of facing stone benches. Between them were small tables whose bases flowed seamlessly into the floor. Countless books and scrolls were stored in this room.
This is the true legacy of our race, said Oric. Here resides the writings of our greatest kings and scholars, from antiquity to the present. Also recorded are the songs and stories composed by our artisans. This library may be our most precious possession. It isn't all our work, though. There's some human writings here as well. Yours is a short-lived but prolific race. We have little or nothing of the elves. They guard their secrets jealously.
How long may I stay? Asked Eragon, moving towards the shelves.
As long as you want. Come to me if you have any questions.
Eragon browsed through the volumes with delight, reaching eagerly for those interesting titles or covers. Surprisingly, dwarves use the same runes to write as humans. He was somewhat disheartened by how hard reading was after months of neglect. He skipped from book to book, slowly working his way deep into the vast library. Eventually, he became immersed in a translation of poems by Dondar, the 10th Dwarf King. As he scanned the graceful lines, unfamiliar footsteps approached from behind the bookcase. The sound startled him, but he berated himself for being silly. He could not be the only person in the library. Even so, he quietly replaced the book and slipped away, senses alert for danger. He had been ambushed too many times to ignore such feelings. He'd heard footsteps again, only now there were 2 sets of them. Apprehensive, he darted across an opening, trying to remember exactly where Oric was sitting. He sidestepped around a corner and started as he found himself face to face with the twins. The twins stood together, their shoulders meeting, a blank expression on their smooth faces, their black snake eyes bored into him. Their hands, hidden within the folds of their purple robes, twitched slightly. They both bowed, but the movement was insolent and derisive. May I inquire what platform is best for you? It depends on what you mean, Gary. What do you mean? I know you're not complaining. I'm complaining for you. I appreciate that, Bobby. I appreciate that. I would not be doing anything like that for 3 hours. I pay for automation programs. The big issue is that the lady and I haven't really monetized well. We've tried to keep everything free for everybody, so we don't make a whole lot of money. So there's not a whole lot of money to go into those things. And the more that we do, the less time we have to do other work that pays us. So as we have transitioned into doing the tavern more full time, we've had less disposable income for paying for extra things. And again, that's not a complaint, that's our choice, but that's kind of what has happened. Money-wise, so I'll say this briefly because I don't want to bore people with the business side of what we do. As far as if you want your time to be valuable for us, watching all the way through on Facebook and YouTube, especially long videos, is the best way to support anybody who you enjoy. Like, Facebook pays us particularly well on shorts. We make like 70 cents for every 1,000 views. And then YouTube on long videos, we make between $4 and $15 for every 1,000 views. So those are the two best places to watch. If you want to support monetarily, the place we get the most money with the least taken away is on Patreon. Patreon takes the least amount of money from us. YouTube takes 50% of every membership. Twitch takes 50% of every sub, and 30% of the bits that they give us. Patreon takes 5%, 5 to 11%, depending on what we choose, and that's just for administrative and payment processing. So the best place to support monetarily is on Twitch, and the best place to support with your time is on YouTube and Facebook. But you don't have to really worry about that too much. I would rather you guys just enjoy what you enjoy, and then as it's able and there are opportunities, and you find value in doing the things, then do that. Perhaps you could get barkeeps to count on the platforms that are available to them. Perhaps I actually have something I need to talk to the barkeeps about later. I will help where I can. Patreon, then Twitch. Twitch does not pay particularly well, but you know, Twitch is the best experience for viewing outside of the, you know, the stuff. Outside of the fact that they make us run ads, it's the solidest connection. But creating art is expensive. It certainly can be, but we love it. We're glad that this is our job and so many of you watch and that we get the opportunity to do this. So it's nice. I'm terrible about Patreon. I have a hard time making, again, like we've tried to do everything for free. So by the time I get to the end of the month, I've put out everything for free. So I don't have anything left to put out on Patreon because we've put out 30 videos, 30 short stories in a month, and then a couple of long ones, and then we do all of the lives. So we're getting better about it, but it's been a struggle. Do you have a Discord or other platform for group communication? We do. We call the Discord the Guild. And T-Dubs message me and I'll send you a link, because for some reason the link that is in my bio right now currently doesn't work. But Gary, I appreciate you asking. That's very kind. As long as you enjoy, that's more than enough for us. I may go live with a Warhammer game. Want to help you and enjoy. Thank you. I appreciate that. And I appreciate everyone all of you who support, whether it's with your time or with your dollars. It's deeply appreciated. So thank you for that. I appreciate you asking. All right, where was I? Oh yeah, the twins. We have been searching for you, one said. His voice was uncomfortably like the Razak's. Eragon suppressed a shiver. What for? He reached out with his mind and contacted Saphira. She immediately joined his thoughts with him. Ever since you met with the Ajihad, we have wanted to apologize for our actions. The words were mocking, but not in a way Eragon could challenge. We have come to pay homage to you. Eragon flushed angrily as they bowed again. Careful, warned Saphira. He pushed back his rising temper. He could not afford to be riled by this confrontation. An idea came to him, and he said with a small smile, Nay, it's I who should pay homage to you. Without your approval, I could never have gained interest to Father Dor. He bowed to them in turn, making the movement as insulting as he could. There was a flicker of irritation in the twins' eyes, but they smiled and said, We are honored that one so important as yourself thinks so highly of us. We are in debt to your kind words. Now it was Eragon's turn to be irritated. I'll remember that when I'm in need. Saphira intruded sharply on his thoughts. You're overdoing it. Don't say anything you'll regret. They will remember every word they can use against you. This is difficult enough without you making comments, he snapped. She subsided with an exasperated grumble. The twins moved closer, the hems of their robes brushing softly over the floor. The voices became more pleasant. We have come and searched for you for another reason as well, Ryder. The few magic users who live in Trondheim have formed a group. We call ourselves Duvangargata, or the Wandering Path. I know, interrupted Eragon, remembering what Angela had said about it. Your knowledge of the ancient language is impressive, said a twin smoothly. As we were saying, Duvangagata has heard of your mighty feats, and we have come to extend an invitation of membership. We would be honored to have one of your stature as a member, and I suspect that we might be able to assist you as well. How? The other twin said. The two of us have garnered much experience in magical matters. We could guide you, show you spells we've discovered, and teach you words of power. Nothing would gladden us more than if we could assist, in some small way, your path to glory. No repayment would be necessary, though if you saw fit to share some scraps of your own knowledge, we would be satisfied. Eragon's face hardened as he realized what they were asking for. Do you think I'm a half-wit? He demanded harshly. I won't apprentice myself to you so you can learn the words Brom taught me. It must have angered you to know that you couldn't steal them from my mind. The twins abruptly dropped their facade of smiles. We are not to be trifled with, boy. We are the ones who will test your abilities with magic, and that could be most unpleasant. Remember, it only takes one misconceived spell to kill someone. You may be a rider, but the two of us are still stronger than you. Eragon kept his face expressionless, even as his stomach knotted painfully. I will consider your offer, but it may. Then we will expect your answer tomorrow. Make sure that it is the right one. They smiled coldly and stalked deeper into the library. Eragon scowled. I'm not going to join Duvangagata, no matter what they do.
You should talk to Angela, said Zafira. She's dealt with the twins before. Perhaps she could be there when they test you. That might prevent them from harming you.
That's a good idea. Eragon wound through the bookcases until he found Oryx sitting on a bench, busily polishing his war axe. I'd like to return to the Dragonhold. The dwarf slid the haft of the axe through the leather loop in his belt, then escorted Eragon to the gate where Saphira waited. People had already gathered around her. Ignoring them, Eragon scrambled onto Saphira's back, and they escaped into the sky.
This problem must be resolved quickly. You cannot let the twins intimidate you.
Saphira said as she landed on Isidar Mithrim. I know, but I hope we can avoid angering them. They could be dangerous enemies. He dismounted quickly, keeping a hand on Zarok.
So can you. Do you want them as allies?
He shook his head. Not really. I'll tell them tomorrow that I won't join Duvangagata. Eragon left Saphira in her cave and wandered after the Dragonhold. He wanted to see Angela, but he didn't remember how to find her hiding place, and Solumbum was not there to guide him. He roamed the deserted corridors, hoping to meet Angela by chance. When he grew tired of staring at empty rooms and endless grey walls, he retraced his footsteps to the hold. As he neared it, he heard someone speaking within a room. He halted and listened, but the clear voice fell silent.
Saphira, who's in there? A female. She has an air of command. I'll distract her while you come in.
Eragon loosened Zarok in its sheath. Oryx said that intruders would be kept out of the Dragonhold.
So who could this be?
He steadied his nerves and then stepped into the hold, his hand on his sword. A young woman stood in the center of the room, looking curiously at Saphira, who had stuck her head out of the cave. The woman appeared to be about 17 years old. A star sapphire cast the rosy light on her, accentuating the skin the same deep shade as Ajihat's. Her velvet dress was wine red and elegantly cut. A jeweled dagger worn with use hung from her waist and in a tooled leather sheath. Eragon crossed his arms, waiting for the woman to notice him. She continued to look at Saphira, then curtsied and asked sweetly,
Please, could you tell me where the rider Eragon is?
Saphira's eyes sparkled with amusement. With a small smile, Eragon said, I'm here. The woman whirled to face him, hand flying to her dagger. Her face was striking, with almond-shaped eyes, wide lips, and round cheekbones. She relaxed and curtsied again.
I am Nasuada,
she said. Eragon inclined his head. Well, you obviously know who I am, but what do you want? Nasuada smiled charmingly.
My father, Ajihat, sent me here with a message. Would you like to hear it?
The Varden's leader had not struck Eragon as one inclined to marriage or fatherhood. He wondered who Nasuada's mother was. She must have been an uncommon woman to have attracted the Ajihad's eye. But yes, I would. Nuada tossed her hair back and recited.
He is pleased that you are doing well, but he cautions you against your actions like the benediction yesterday. They created more problems than they solve. Also, he urges you to proceed with the testing as soon as possible. He needs to know how capable you are before he communicates with the elves.
Did you climb all the way up here just to tell me that? Eragon asked, thinking of Volturin's length. Nuada shook her head. Nasuada shook her head.
I used the pulley system that transports goods to the upper level. We could have sent the message with signals, but I decided to bring it myself and meet you in person.
Would you like to sit down? Asked Eragon. He motioned towards Saphira's cave. Nasuada laughed lightly.
No, I am expected elsewhere. You should also know my father decreed that you may visit Murto if you wish.
A somber expression disturbed her previously smooth features.
I met Murto early. He's anxious to speak with you. He seemed lonely. You should visit him.
She gave Eragon directions to Murto's cell. Eragon thanked her for the news, then asked,
What about Arya? Is she better? Can I see her? Auric wasn't able to tell me much.
She smiled mischievously.
Arya is recovering swiftly, as all elves do. No one is allowed to see her except for my father, Hrothgar, and the healers. They have spent much time with her, learning all that occurred during her imprisonment.
She swept her eyes over Saphira.
I must go now. Is there anything that you would have me convey to the Ajihad on your behalf?
No, except for a desire to visit Arya, and give him my thanks for the hospitality he's shown.
I will take your words directly to him. Farewell, Rider Eragon. I hope we shall soon meet again.
She curtsied and exited the dragon hold, head held high. She really came all the way up here, up Trondheim, just to meet me. Pulleys or no pulleys. There was more to this meeting than idle chatter, remarked Eragon.
Aye,
said Saphira, withdrawing her head into the cave. Eragon clambered up to her and was surprised to see Solumbum curled up in the hollow at the base of her neck. The werecat was purring deeply, his black-tipped tail flicking back and forth. The two of them looked at Eragon impudently as if to ask, What? Eragon shook his head, laughing helplessly.
Saphira, is Solumbum who you wanted to meet?
They both blinked at him and answered,
Yes.
Just wondering, he said, mirth still bubbling inside of him. It made sense that they would befriend each other. Their personalities were similar, and they were both creatures of magic. He sighed, releasing some of the day's tension as he unbuckled Zarok. Solumbum, do you know where Angela is? Couldn't find her, and I need her advice. Solumbum kneaded his paws against Saphira's scaled back.
She's somewhere in Trondheim.
When will she return?
Soon.
How soon? He asked impatiently. I need to talk to her today.
Not that soon.
The werecat refused to say more. Despite Eragon's persistent questions, he gave up and nestled against Saphira. Solumbum's purring was a low thrum above his head. I have to visit Myrtle tomorrow, he thought, fingering Brom's ring. And so ends the... what was it? The King Under the Mountain. No, that's Lord of the Rings. What was the name of this chapter? The Hall of the Mountain King. Absolutely exceptional, my friends. Io, hello, my friend. Long time no see. Good to see you. I was wondering where can I get tavern merch. If you go to blackdragontavern.com, there is a shop, and that's where the tavern shop is. We don't have a whole lot. There are I think 2 pieces of tavern gear, of adventurer's gear, and then you can get a tankard. And then you can also get my festivals book. We give these out during readathons, but if you want to pick one up, I think they're like $8 or $9 for a soft copy, and then the ebook is I think $4 or $5. Buy the shirts. The tankers are nice too. Thank you, Bobby. I appreciate you. Showing up near the end again, I'm sure you are indeed showing up near the end again, Irewolf, but it's good to see you in any case. Very glad to have you in. Okay, let me see how long this next chapter is, because we might be able to do one more chapter. We might be able to. Let's see. This is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 14 pages. Is quite a bit. I don't know. What do you guys think? Because I still have to edit a story time tonight. Yeah, Irewolf. So I don't know if you watch any of my recent stories. Samantha, love you, Black Dragon Tavern and ancestors. Samantha, thank you kindly for the stars. Tips to the tavern keeper are always appreciated. Thank you very much. Good night all, 5 a.m. comes early, Slancher. Good night, Douglas, rest well, my friend. I have to go, my friend, but I'll message you before I go to bed. No rush, just respond when you have the time. Thank you kindly. What a good story. Hello, Sonomi. Darth Nexus, butterbeer time indeed. And yeah, Irewolf, we have it's the same one that you see that I serve you guys with during story time in the short stories. I got 2 tankards. I kept one and gave the other to my roommate. I use mine all the time. They are lovely. They keep things nice and cool or nice and warm, depending on what strikes your fancy. I take my leave at this time. Thank you for the story castle. Tavern family, rest well. Good night, Frost. Rest well, my friend. Thank you kindly for helping to tend the bar this evening. Always a chance. Always a pleasure. I was reading and then I said a word out loud. Did you get a chance to listen to Old Time? Oh, Emerald Lady, no, I didn't. I completely forgot. I apologize. I completely forgot. We've had such a hectic last 2 weeks. Not that things aren't always hectic, but we've had such a hectic last 2 weeks. I'm gonna hang on. Let me. Where's my notes? Hang on. Okay, I wrote it in my notes. Hopefully that will remind me. I think we can save these chapters for later. I do kind of want to read more because we're getting right to the end. Like we only have, I think we only have like 60 pages left before the end of the book. And I'm excited to get through it. I also am worried to get through it. Yeah, we have less. We have 56 pages left. Oh wait, maybe no. We have less than that. Less. Wow. Yeah, actually, significantly less. Hang on. That's all of the pronunciations and translations. Yeah, oh man, we have 44 pages left. So that's really only about 2 more nights. It's only about 2 more nights of story time. I need to get the next book. It's been lovely listening. So glad I could stop in after so long. Have fun with the rest of the book. Good night, all. Good night, Obsidian. It was lovely to see you and in all your froggy glory. I hope that you've been well. I hope that all of the things you're doing are going well. It was lovely to have you, and I hope that we'll see you back again. We still do story time every Tuesday and Thursday night. And the wife, she still does story time on Sundays. She typically does stuff that's a little bit softer, a little bit more in the romance era. She's currently reading Heir to Seven Waters by Juliette Marie, if that strikes your fancy. Any which way, it was lovely to see you. Have a good night. Okay. I really want to do more, but I think that we should probably call it quits here, because I need to get a short story out today. I need to get a short story done today. A Great Froggy Existence. Yes, I'll have to visit again. Absolutely exceptional. Obsidian is retired, but you guys can go follow her anyways if you want to. She used to do reading story times as well. Okay, so I do think we're gonna end stories here for tonight. We'll do some songs, but we're gonna end stories here for tonight because we only have 2 more story times left, and I need to get the other book because I don't have Eldest. I think that I only have Eragon on hand, so I'm gonna need to pick Eldest up, and it usually takes about a week for the books to get here. Oh no, we need to take a vote. We need to take a vote first. It's probably going to be Eldest, let's be honest. But we do need to take a vote first. Yeah. Okay. I think that's what we're gonna call it for the night. But let's do a couple songs, and then I'll send you all off. But I need to edit a short story. Yeah. I know it's been frustrating. I want to be on earlier. The lady and I have had so much to do that it's been really hard to get on earlier than I have been. But I promise we're working on it. It's added my vote now. Bobby, your vote is for Eldest. I'll add an extra vote to the Eldest count for you. Gary Lavrain says, "My mother told me." I think we haven't done My Mother Told Me in a while. I think that's a fair request. What's another song we haven't done in a while? And Jody, I have it written down. I'm gonna listen to Old Timer tonight, and I'll practice it tomorrow, so that way Thursday we can. I was watching Arthur Christie Waiting for You, so I was. She is quite lovely, isn't she? Like she's charming, and she's a bit of a jokester, so she is fun. She is fun to watch. I haven't watched any of her relaxing streams, like where she does co-working, but I've been in there every once in a while when she's reading. Row Bully Boys, I think I know. Um, maybe we could do I Sit Beside the Fire. That's a good one. We haven't done that one in a while. She was working and chatting and put on good music. Yeah. That's the way to do it. All right. Let's go ahead. We'll do My Mother Told Me, and we'll do I Sit Beside the Fire. I think those are good ones, good mellow ones to end off on. So let's do My Mother Told Me. Oh, we could do one more pull too. I don't Valhalla Calling. Gosh. Valhalla Calling I think would be a little bit raw. No, let's get a call. Let's get a call on it. How many of you want to hear the Tavern's rendition of Valhalla Calling? It's been a while. I would have to do it second to last because otherwise I'm not going to be able to. Because my throat is worn out. So let's get a sound off. I heard Valhalla Calling on my way home from work, caught myself throat singing and trying. I think that's a great way to scare people off. Tyson, you're gonna accidentally get people pregnant just in traffic. You don't want to do that. Be careful with that. With great throat singing comes great responsibility. One of the dumbest things I've ever said. Okay, alright, let's just start. We're gonna start with My Mother Told Me. Join along if you know the words. I should probably turn this music off. Okay. My mother told me someday I will buy galleys with good oars, sail to distant shores, stand up high in the prow. Noble bark I steer, steady course to the haven. Hew many foemen, hew many foemen. My mother told me someday I will buy galleys with good oars, sail to distant shores, stand up high in the prow. Noble bark I steer, steady course to the haven. Hew many foemen, hew many foemen. Nora, hello, lovely to see you. We're just ending up, but you can join us for some songs if you like. My mother told me someday I will buy galleys with good oars, sails to distant shores, stand up high in the prow. Noble bark I steer, steady course to the haven. Hew many foemen, hew many foemen. Lovely. All right, let's do one more pull next. I actually love One More Pull. It's one of my favorite songs. We don't need any spontaneous combustion is needed with the fires going. That's true. We don't need people spontaneously combusting. There's already too many fires going on. We have to be responsible barbarian bards. So one more pull, we're going to do the version by the Wellerman and the Longest Jaunt. It's been a long time since you've seen her. Could have been 3 years or more. Will she be waiting when we dock, boys? Or like the others, will she be gone? It's one more pull, boys, that'll do, boys. Soon we'll draw alongside. Hoist her upward, swing her inboard, for the journey's nearly done. Well, you're looking mighty smart, boy, dressed up in your number ones. You scrounged the new blade from the purser to scrape the bum fluff from off your chin. It's one more pull, boys, that'll do, boys. Soon we'll draw alongside. Hoist her upward, swing her inboard, for the journey's nearly done. When we've fixed those bow and stern lines, and you've scuttled down the gangway, if she's waiting there, just kiss her. Turn around, give us a smile. It's one more pull, boys, that'll do, boys. Soon we'll draw alongside. Hoist her upward, swing her inboard, for the journey's nearly done. Well, we too will go ashore soon, get drunk in the clubs and bars, and stagger homeward, pockets empty, like so many times before. It's one more pull, boys, that'll do, boys. Soon we'll draw alongside. Hoist her upward, swing her inboard, for the journey's nearly done. Well, a man may take a wife, boy, and a man may take a mistress, but a sailor has his ship, boys, and his mistress, it is the sea. It's one more pull, boys, that'll do, boys. Soon we'll draw alongside. Hoist her upward, swing her inboard, for the journey's nearly done. It's one more pull, boys, that'll do, boys. Soon we'll draw alongside. Hoist her upwards, swing her inboard, for the journey's nearly done. For the journey now is done. Thank you for the song, my friends. Fire Deck, thank you for the rose over on the TikTok portal. Tips to the Tavern Keeper, always appreciated, my friend. Alright. We're going to do Valhalla Calling. I will probably sound terrible. I haven't practiced throat singing in some time. And my throat is already worn out from the day, but We'll see what we can do. Now, if you've never been in the tavern before, for our rendition of Valhalla Calling's a very popular song by Miracle of Sound. It's a very popular Viking-esque sort of shanty. We do it a little bit differently. We sing the verses normally, but then when we get to the chorus, we do what's called throat singing or druid singing. Some people enjoy it. Some people find it very grating and irritating. And it has been known to cause spontaneous combustion, disruption of the nervous system, sudden blindness, disruption of the lymphatic system, as well as the nervous system. It has also been known to cause spontaneous pregnancy, as well as spontaneous isekaiing into other worlds. If any of these things do happen to you as a result, including but not limited to eyes, ears, and other orifices bleeding, the tavern cannot be held responsible. You have been warned. So, join me for Valhalla Calling, my friends. Ships on the vigor of the waves are skimming, bearing summits to the verdant plains. Each horizon is a new beginning. Rise and reign. Far from the fords and the ice-cold currents, ravens soar over new frontiers, songs and sagas of a fate determined, shields and spears. Vows of favor or the thrill of plunder, pull together for the clan and kin, clank of hammers and the crash of thunder, pound within. Plug your ears if you're sensitive. Oh, 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 the echoes of eternity. Oh, 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 Valhalla calling me. Oh, 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 to pluck the strings of destiny. Oh, 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 Valhalla calling me. Valhalla calling me. Sails are swaying on the crimson rivers, blood and glory in the fighting fields. Shields are shattered into splintered timbers, iron and steel. Fires are rising and the bells are ringing. Glory take us into Odin's halls. Golden glimmer and the sound of singing as God's call. Oh, 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 the echoes of eternity. Oh, 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 Valhalla calling me. Oh, 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 to pluck the strings of destiny. Oh, 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 Valhalla calling me. Valhalla calling me. 24 Slevin, thank you for the raid into the tavern. Give me just a moment, we're in the midst of the song and I will greet everyone. We're almost done. Winds and the waves will carry me, wind and the waves will set me free. Wind and the waves will carry me, wind and the waves will set me free. Oh, 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 the echoes of eternity. Oh, 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 Valhalla calling me. Oh, 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 to pluck the strings of destiny. Oh, 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 Valhalla calling me. Valhalla calling me. Thank you for the song, my friends. 24/7. Thank you kindly for the raid. Let me give you a toot on the raid horn. You're coming in at the end of story time today, but let's give you a toot any case. Here we go. 3, 2, 1. Welcome in, my friends. For any of you who do not know me, I am Castle, this is my tavern, and here we talk about myth and lore and tales of yore, and every now and again I read you all a bedtime story, which is what we did tonight. And at the end of those stories, we typically do songs, and you came in at the worst possible time when we were doing some throat singing of Valhalla Calling. But 24/7, my friend, thank you kindly for the raid. Sooty Face, thank you for being here. And Cabo 3, welcome, welcome, welcome. Saying that twice in one day takes a toll. Yes, it does. Kemi and Imagine Dancing Dinos here. Best possible time. Thank you, my friend. Good to see you. 24/11, what were we doing? What were we up to today? And Jody, thank you kindly for the drink. I appreciate you for that. 24/7, we're doing writing and reading. What were we? We were reading The Maltese Falcon. Oh, wow. That's a blast from the past. That's old. YouTube is slow in delivering my... Yes, for some reason, YouTube is always like 60 seconds to 2 minutes behind. I could not tell you why. The Maltese Falcon is quite an old book, isn't it? Yeah. It's... Oh, yeah, because of the film with Humphrey Bogart. Yes, wow. How are you guys enjoying it? Old noir fiction is... Mwah. Chef's kiss. Fun book so far. Well, 24/11, I appreciate you for bringing your readers. I don't what you call your community. Because I know you've been in before. I don't know if it was with me or with my wife, but I recognize your name. Yes, it's so good. Oh man, that is long. I don't think YouTube has messages. They well, comments, whatever, chat messages. Oh. Also, Dex, I'm glad you stuck around so late. It's always lovely to see you, my friend. Let's get one more song under our belts before we leave, friends. I'm going to do I Sit Beside the Fire, which if you've never heard before... Also, Slevin, if you need to run off, my friend, I do appreciate the raid, but if you need to go and take care of yourself, go and do so. It's wonderful to have you. I will take care of your community whilst you are gone and away. So if you've never heard I Sit Beside the Fire, it is a poem by J.R.R. Tolkien, and it is absolutely lovely wind song. It's one of my favorites from the thing. Oh, massages. Yeah, I mean, YouTube's a multi-billion-dollar company. I'm sure somebody's getting massaged somewhere. I'm not one to be lewd or rude, but let's be honest. Let's be honest at what the wealthy do with their time. So join me, my friends, in I Sit Beside the Fire, if you know the words. But if not, you can just hang out and enjoy yourself. I sit beside the fire and think of all that I have seen, of meadow flowers and butterflies in summers that have been, of yellow leaves and gossamer in autumns that there were, with morning mist and silver sun and wind upon my head. I I sit beside the fire and think of how the world will be when winter comes without a spring that I shall ever see. For there are still so many things that I have never seen. In every wood, in every spring, there is a different green. I sit beside the fire and think of people long ago, and people who will see a world that I shall never know. But all the while I sit and think of times there were before, I listen for returning feet and voices at the door. I absolutely love that song. Tolkien was such a brilliant poet, even as an academic. It's so rare to see someone like Tolkien, an intellectual who is also a poet. You know, most poets are a bit haughty. Uh, and I don't know that Tolkien wasn't haughty. Obviously, I never met the man, but. What an exceptional night, my friends. I want to thank you all for the time that you've spent here with me this fine evening. Thank you, Bear. I appreciate all of your love, my friend, and I appreciate all of the time you spend assisting the tavern and being an integral part of it. And thank you to all of our other barkeeps as well for making sure that everyone stays libated and entertained whilst my head is down and I am taking care of the stories. So, thank you, my friends, for such a wonderful night. Good night, Bobby. Rest well. I see it now. I meant message comments. That's all right. That's all right. Clifford. All right, my friends. Absolutely brilliant to see you all this evening. Thank you all for your time. If you're over on the Twitch portal, we'll try to raid out to share the love. But for everyone else, this is where we will end for this fine evening. To all of the guests who came in, again, thank you so much for joining us again. I am Castle. This is my tavern. Here we talk about myth, lore, and tales of yore. Every now and again I read you all a story and you have found your way into a tavern at the end of the world where all stories eventually come to rest. And you found your way here because you sought a story. So, my friends, until the next time that we must gather for a story or a tale, I will bid you all stay bloodthirsty, my friends, and I will see you next time. Good night.
The fire smokes black when she walks through the door, a shadow that stretches across the stone floor. She carries the staff, she carries the sight, a piece of the morning in the heart of the night. Satan, 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 Satan.
The staff hits the wood where the kings used to stand. Fate is a needle in a trembling hand. You asked for the rune, you asked for the flame, but you're too weak to carry the weight of your name.
The thread is unweaving. The truth is bereaving. The vulva is spinning. The spirit and bone. The seeds of your ending have already been sown. freeze it in ash. The glint of the gold, the sting of the lash. She speaks to the dead, she drinks from the well. There are secrets the living are too frightened to tell. The thread is unweaving. The truth is bereaving. Bone by spinning, the spirit and bone. The seeds of your ending have already been sown. The thread is unweaving. The truth is bereaving. The void by spinning, the spirit and bone. The seeds of your ending have already been sown.
The weird is full. The weird is full.
Across the foam where the gray sea dies, I see the gold in your mortal eyes. Leave the iron sheen, leave the rust, leave the men who turn to dust.
I see the light, I see the shore, but my heart is tied to the threshing floor. How can I ride where the shadows go when the wind of home is all